Now, I really want you to have a lot of fun with this application. It's one of my, again, it's my favorite all-time go-to themes. There's a lot of little nuances. We just scratched the surface with this. So here's what I would like to do. Okay, I would like to have different, how can I best say this? I want to have different sliders come up, and we're just going to keep this visual. Notice that it physically says it in slider 1, slider 2, slider 3, so you'll see exactly what I'm targeting here. So let's go back to our back end here, and let's go to our pages. Now, by default, if I go and view any of these pages, so if I view, as an example, my header page is going to have the slider. And it's going to have this slider 1 automatically. Why? Because if I go into edit layout, it's automatically part of this particular layout. Okay, so I can have different layouts that target different pages. Now, there's a couple different ways to do this, but I'm going to keep this really simple so you understand how I can make multiple layouts and how simple it is to make multiple layouts using the Ultimatum theme. So based on these choices, let's go back to, let's save the layout, which is already saved, and let's go back to the layout screen. Okay, so this is our full page layout. Now again, I'm going to keep this really simple. In subsequent videos, we'll do much more sophisticated, cool stuff, but I want you to walk before you can run. So here's what you want to do. Okay, based on these choices, we're going to clone this layout, and we're going to give it a name. By default, it's just called full width copy. So we're going to call this, let's just call this what it's going to be. So let's call this 2. Just generic, just bear with me on this. And I'm going to save the changes. Now, 2, I want to bring up a different slideshow. Okay, so how can I do that? How can I bring up a different slideshow? Well, I already have the images. So we're going to use the same 4 images, but we're just going to restack the deck here. So based on these choices, we're going to go back over here to slideshow, and we're going to add a new slideshow. And let's just call this slider, so we're all on the same page. Let's just call this slider 2, which will go with layout 2. And again, I'm just going to pick this slider, this slide, and I'm going to hold down the Command key to do that. The Control key on Windows, and select. Now, since this is going to start out with 2, the only thing I'm going to do here is just drag this up to 2 because I want 2 to appear first. Does that make sense? This is visual. I just want 2 to appear first on the layout called 2. And I'm going to publish that. Okay, I'm going to make one more slideshow, and we'll just call this slider 3. Again, this is basically just a simple understanding of how to target different sliders for different layouts or different looks for different layouts. Let's go add image again. We're going to select, holding down the Command key, Macintosh, Control key for Windows, and slider 3 appears on top. Great, and we're going to publish that. Now keep in mind that we have 3 different slideshows. We have slider main, slider 2, slider 3. So this will basically be our main slider, which will automatically bring up slide 1. Think about it that way. All right, so how do we make this happen? Let's go back here for a second. Let's go to Edit Layout. Let's go back to our layout. And we have 2. So let's clone 2 and make that 3. We hit the Edit button. And again, we're just keeping this really simple so we'll know what we're doing, and save the layout. Okay, now here's the important step. We have the 3 different slideshows, and all we did was clone the existing, hence the word clone, so it's identical to the main slider, the main layout, and it's identical to 2. But what I want to make different here, the only thing I want to do here is come down here, everything else will be the same, but I simply want to target, since this is layout 3, I want to target slide 3. How cool is that? Now we're not out of the widget. Okay, just let's save that. So layout 3 is going to target slider 3. Layout 2 is going to target layout 2, slider 2 rather. Let's go back to our screen. Let's go back to 2. Let's edit 2. And again, if I click right here, you'll see it still says main slider. So I'm going to make this slider 2. Scroll down to the bottom, save the changes, come back up here, save the layout. Now, we're still not out of the widget. So here's what I want to do. I'm going to go to Pages, and this shows you the power of this WordPress theme, which is really simple and straightforward. Okay, now this is going to take a little bit of intuition here, okay? But I'm just going to change this for a second. I'm just going to call this block page 1. So you'll notice that this is just going to be our main, and this is automatically going to default to our default layout. Now, what is our default layout? Well, our layout is the one that's set up by default, which is our main layout. How do I know that? Well, let's go back to our Ultimatum templates, and based on these choices, let's go to our layouts, and we will see that this layout is not my default. I could click here and set that as my default. This layout is not my default. Again, I can click here and make it my default. This is my default layout. So this is referring that layout, which is our main layout. Now, it would make no logical sense to switch it to this because it is my default layout. It's kind of like cascading style sheets. You don't have to go override it. It's set up already. And I'm just going to update that because I made the change there. Let's hit the back button. And again, I'm just doing this visually so you can see what's going on here. So I'm going to hit the edit, and I'm going to make this header page 2. This way you can see what layout it's going to be connected to. So based on these choices, and again, this is what I get excited about when I first started using this theme back in 2012. I was like, wow, are you kidding me? I could just on the fly assign different layouts, 2-column, 3-column, etc., etc. It's really cool stuff. So I'm going to say, let's make this default to 2. And update that. Now again, the reason I'm putting the word 2 and 1 in there, so you get a visual understanding of what we're doing. Okay, and I'm going to click this one, and I'm going to hit edit that, and I'm just going to put a 3 on here. And you guessed it, we're going to come over here to the right and target layout 3 and update that. Now this video is going a little bit longer, but I just took my time with it so you can see what's happening. All right, so let's go back to our first page. Okay, now we have a bit of a problem here. Houston, we have a problem. The problem is we don't have a way to get to those pages. And the reason we don't have a way to get to those pages is because we don't have a navigation system. But to share with you in our next video, we're going to build a navigation system. But before we do that, I just want to preview this page, and you'll see that it goes to slide 3. I'm going to close the window. If I go back here and I pick page 2, which is our header page, and I view that, you'll see that that will go to slide 2. But the problem with that, obviously your users are not going to have access to your backend here, right? So what we need to do in our next video, see, I've done this before, is create a navigation system. Let me share with you how simple that is to do, and we'll get started in our next video. So stay tuned.